When thinking about the best current Pokemon in Ubers, a lot of thoughts probably come to mind. Maybe it's Miraidon or Koraidon with their sheer power shaping the identity of the tier, or some defensive staple that keeps the tier from collapsing on itself like Ho-Oh. What if I told you that the best Pokemon in the tier is actually Necrozma-Dusk-Mane? Although this topic is contentious, Dusk-Mane is unanimously agreed upon to be a top 3 Pokemon in the tier, and boasts consistent high usage in both ladder and high-level tournament play. Before I get into why Dusk-Mane is so good in the Ubers tier, I'd really appreciate it if you guys would like this video and subscribe so I can feed my adopted son, Frank, who's a Dawn fan I've raised after his parents, Great Tusk and Iron Treads, died in a tragic spinning accident. Thank you in advance. At first glance, Necrozma-Dusk-Mane seems like a pretty average Pokemon. It doesn't offer incredible type synergy, with the Steel-Psychic type combo being rather underwhelming defensively and offensively, with its best trait being one of the few viable defensive Steel types with good utility, a trait that is incredibly useful in the Dragon-dominated Ubers here. However, its typing being acknowledged at face value is an unfair assessment of Dusk-Mane in SV Ubers, since the story is more complex than that. Given the sheer power of Koraidon, Dark types are few and sparse, with the only high-ranked Dark type being Ting-Lu, which exists to stop Miraidon from breaking the tier in half, and doesn't even run any Dark stab, and offensive Dark types are rare, mostly being seen in the form of Kingambit and Chien-Pao, which usually can be dealt with by common partners both defensively and offensively by something like Ho-Oh and Koraidon, and have seen much less use with the Basculegion ban. The only relevant offensive Ghost type in the tier is Fluttermane, which in the current meta is pretty underwhelming as it falters to offense, has to use Terra to secure kills, and is too frail on the physical side while still suffering heavily from poor move slot syndrome. And bug types in Ubers are, well, yeah. So the psychic typing isn't really as much as a deterrent as it might seem. Furthermore, its defenses are bolstered by its Prism Armor ability, which cuts all super effective damage down to 3/4 of its original damage, giving it defensive utility past its stats and typing. Speaking of its stats, Dusk-Mane has a notably high attack and defense stat at 157 and 127 respectively, pretty average HP, special defense, and special attacking stat, and a rather underwhelming base 77 speed stat. Jumping deeper into Dusk-Mane, its move pool is good, but doesn't offer anything particularly stellar upon first glance. Notably, it often has to choose one of its 2 stabs, as it can't carry both or else it gets walled by any steel type. But from those stabs, it has excellent options to choose from. Photon Geyser, its psychic stab, is a particularly great wall breaker, as it ignores abilities and can break through unaware Pokemon like Dondozo and Skeledirge. Its other stab option is Sunsteel Strike, which has a similar effect to Photon Geyser, however all relevant unaware Pokemon resist the move naturally. Both moves offer powerful 100 base power stab options, with the one drawback being they are limited to 8 PP. Furthermore, Dusk-Mane is one of 2 Pokemon in the tier that can take advantage of and spam knockoff. Given the nature of Ubers, a lot of Pokemon are locked into items to switch forms, so they are more susceptible to hazards. Take for instance, defensive Arceus forms, Zacian, and Mons that commonly never run boots, like Koraidon. This unintentionally has bolstered the strength of heavy-duty boots in the tier, as keeping up momentum by not taking damage from hazards becomes that much more important, and losing boots by switching into a would-be check such as Ho-Oh can cost the game outright. It also has valuable coverage in Earthquake and utility options in Morning Sun, which is further boosted by the omnipresence of Koraidon on the tier, and is a common partner, allowing Dusk-Mane to recover 2/3 of its HP with Morning Sun. It also carries Stealth Rock, which is seen play on bulky support sets, but has fallen much further out of favor due to Dusk-Mane's far superior boosting sets. Dusk-Mane has 3 real boosting options: Trick Room Sweeper, Offensive Dragon Dance, or Bulky Dragon Dance. With Trick Room, Dusk-Mane usually opts to go with 2 attacks, most commonly Photon Geyser and Earthquake, since they are the strongest options to output short-term damage, which is what the set aims to do with the limited Trick Room turns available. In the other 2 slots, Necrozma carries Setup with Swords Dance and Speed Control with Trick Room. This set can also abuse Terra with Terra Fire, since it turns Koraidon's Flare Blitz and more importantly, Ho-Oh Sacred Fire into resisted hits that can't burn. For its item, its most common set is to run Weakness Policy, since with maximum HP investment, a lot of super effective hits can't kill it, namely a Jolly Koraidon Flare Blitz and a boosted +2 Arceus Terra Ghost Shadow Claw. Can also opt to run Lumberry and Terra Psychic, allowing Dusk-Mane to get off a big hit on Ho-Oh in defensive Arceus forms, which OHKOs Ho-Oh and can kill most defensive Arceuses with 1 Spike Up. Mental Herb can also be slotted to play around the common taunt coming from Miraidon and offensive Arceus forms. However, that set sees little to no play as Lumberry and Weakness Policy can be used in virtually any matchup and are generally more valuable. With offensive Dragon Dance variants, Dusk-Mane opts to go for 3 attacking moves to fully take advantage of its coverage, usually slotting Sunsteel Strike and Earthquake, with Stone Edge last to punish Ho-Oh, or Photon Geyser to take full advantage of its breaking ability. Although the set can run Terra Fire to a similar effect as the Trick Room set, Terra Ground allows Dusk-Mane to boost its Earthquake and catch Miraidon off guard, as Miraidon can commonly revenge it when Dusk-Mane needs the Adamant nature to take advantage of that massive base 157 attack stat. For the items, it can use Akaberry to live a Scarf Miraidon Flare Blitz, which can commonly revenge kill it, a Lumberry so it's unbothered by burn, or Life Orb to further bolster its damage. However, the set has problems with longevity, and when it can't outspeed the opponent immediately or threaten big damage, it tends to falter, which is where the most popular set comes from. With defensive Dragon Dance, Dusk-Mane takes advantage of its incredible physical defenses, which are further compounded by its Prism Armor ability to Dragon Dance on physical threats, then Morning Sun off any damage. Given the preference the Uber's tier has to physical offense structures, the set has a lot of setup opportunities, and doesn't need to set up to do its job on a team. The most common pairing on the set is Sunsteel Strike and Knockoff. This set allows Dusk-Mane to spam Knockoff and is virtually only really punished by Arceus Water. Everything else has to take Knockoff and lose its item, or eat a super effective or unresisted Sunsteel Strike. Another important thing to note is that all of Dusk-Mane's checks are very weak to another top threat, Miraidon. Miraidon easily takes advantage of Arceus Water and Ho-Oh's entry points to drop its disgustingly powerful Draco Meteors, or whatever else it pleases, and pairs excellently with Dusk-Mane. On this bulky set, boots are usually preferred to keep off Spike's damage and make it easier to switch in. However, some teams can slot Covert Cloak as a means to stay in on Ho-Oh and punish it with Knockoff, without eating the Sacred Fire Burn. This set is also great at soft checking a lot of the staples in the tier, such as Calyrex Ice, Zacian Crowned, and Arceus Fairy. The very essence of Dusk-Mane's viability comes from a lot of reasons, however mainly, it's the fact that the tier suits it. Whether it be stall, balance, hyper offense, bulky offense, Dusk-Mane can feasibly fit on all these teams and contribute a lot with its utility and power output. It loves taking advantage of Terra, has naturally good enough typing for the tier, and with good team building, Dusk-Mane can play around most of its checks and threats. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below and let me know, and tell me what other topics you'd like me to cover within the Ubers tier. Peace.